and welcome in to a packed edition of MIZ Central on the Loot Information Station. We're live and on demand at lootinfo.com. Go to the Loot Info YouTube to watch Brendan Schaefer and myself, Grant Salzman. A lot to talk about, Brendan Schaefer.
Really? What happened? What makes it packed?
There was a few basketball games to discuss. There's a big basketball game today to discuss.
Yeah.
Missouri got their butts kicked by Texas A&M, and the ever-looming coaching carousel is still going round and round as we go. What sound does the carousel make?
I don't know. Sounds like a meat grinder right now.
Yeah, it's not like a good coaching, a good merry-go-round. The coaching merry-go-round is bad.
Yeah.
Where do you want to
enjoying it?
Where do we jump in? Let's jump in. Missouri's lost to Texas A&M. They fell 38-17, and it could have been worse as A&M recovered a kickoff, kind of unintentionally, and really easily could have made it 45-17 if they wanted to.
Yeah, that wasn't very much fun. Mizzou is not as good as Texas A&M this year.
No.
Texas A&M is one of the best 5 teams in the country. They got a chance to win the national championship. They probably won't win it, but they have a chance to do it. Mizzou, I think if you had Bo Pribula at quarterback, there's some debate about how much of a difference it would have made.
A lot.
I think it would have made a difference. I still think you probably lose, but you don't lose by 21. You might even cover that 6.5, 7 point spread. Who knows?
I agree.
The Zollers just wasn't ready. We didn't know what we were going to get. And it was fun for 2 weeks to kind of carry that hopium that maybe he'll be able to do it, and keep some semblance of an offensive flow. He couldn't. He was very overwhelmed. Looked the part of just being completely overwhelmed, overmatched in his first game against the defense that really knows what they're doing. I think against a different team, it might have gone differently, but I think that A&M defense is really smart. They're calling out the plays. Part of that's on Kirby Moore. Part of that, I think, is a credit to A&M and just what they do defensively. I don't think there's been a game all season where Missouri was more out-coached, but I think that's just as much a credit to A&M's coaching staff as it is a detriment to what Mizzou was able to come up with. So it was not enjoyable. It could have been closer, some self-inflicted wounds by the coaching staff. The two that jump out to me are the fumble in the first half that allows A&M to go up 14 instead of going into the half down 7 and getting the ball out of halftime. You can't be they just mismanaged that situation. And then the fake punt was pitiful.
Yeah.
So those moments make it even worse. If you stack those two moments and they go Missouri's way, and by going Missouri's way, it just would have been don't do something catastrophically stupid, and don't allow your players to do something catastrophically stupid by putting them in the wrong play calls. Max protect on the punt return. So we're going to suddenly become this. Although they did have a guy come in and have some nice returns later in the game, but that was just a catastrophic mistake in special teams and the mismanaging of the clock to end the first half when you know that you're overmatched. Just try to stay within a touchdown. Don't give Texas A&M the death blow in the first half of the game, which they couldn't avoid that big mistake. So it was extremely disappointing. But it's so hard to just think about it in the context of the game and the season when you know that all the coaching carousel stuff is happening. And so you're like, well, what is the impact of it on those things too is fresh on my mind. I can't let go of it until we get a resolution to Eli Drinkwitz's status. And so we're going to keep talking about it because it's relevant.
And to poke a hole in kind of what Drink said, when he was asked about the fake punt return, he was like, yeah, it's my fault. I gave the green light on it to be max return, which is okay, maybe
technically true.
True. And maybe when you're in max return, and they run a fake punt, they get the 6 yards necessary and they get it. But to get 48 yards, since when, or really in the history of ever, is a max return you're setting up, does everyone turn their back to the play?
That is just not. I don't think that's relevant.
No, I'm saying though, it is, because I think that's part of poor coaching by the special teams unit.
It doesn't matter though. The 6 yards is what mattered. You can't give up. You need the football in your hands after that play.
Yeah,
I don't care if you give up 48 or 6. Like, it just doesn't matter.
Those 3 points though end up like definitely killing the game. Which is I mean,
not getting the ball back there ended the game.
100%.
It was ultimately going to be too much to overcome, and it is. Yes, Drinkwitz, like, you know, he's going to do the thing that a head coach is supposed to do and fall on the sword publicly in the post game to defend, you know, to take the heat off of his special teams coach or his offensive coordinator. Like, that's what it is in both cases with the 2 plays that I brought up. He said, that's on me. I've got to be better. I ultimately approve all of these calls. But really, it's like, yeah, like, you can, as the head coach, you can certainly say, no, don't do that. But like, it's the special teams coach that says, here's the play we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then Drinkwitz is ultimately going to be responsible if it goes wrong, because he has the ability as the head coach, the CEO, to change it.
I agree.
It was asinine to be in that, because we don't return punts. Like, until they took Coleman out and put the Folks kid in, we that's not something that we even do successfully. We successfully fair catch punts. Coleman hasn't fumbled a punt. Like, that's the calling card.
And I'm fine with that.
Yes,
that's why Kevin Coleman's back there.
Did its job. It's catastrophically stupid, and it is a fireable offense of the special teams coach, in my opinion. Ultimately, Drink is going to say it's on me, so that's not the way that he's going to treat it. Maybe after the season, if this is still the same regime, you'll have a different special teams coach. I would be shocked if you didn't.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Eric Link has brought 0 to the table.
I agree, but he's also the tight end coach, and
I don't care.
People think he has a lot of job security.
Yeah, well, he can be he can be the tight end coach.
I agree with you.
You get a different guy coaching the special teams, and Drink in the press conference yesterday, you can tell he knows the criticism that's out there, and so he wants to be smarter than everybody in the room. And, well, which part of the special teams are you asking about? You know, because that was the question that was asked about him to evaluate the special teams. And obviously with special teams, you've got the kicker, you've got the punter, you've got the field goal kicking, the kickoff specialist, the defending the kickoffs, defending the punts. Like, there's a bunch of different elements of special teams. And so rather than just address what we're obviously asking about, it's like, well, which part, you know, which we've had some things that have gone well. It's like, no, you know, the thing that's a problem.
I don't think anything has gone well.
Well, that's probably true.
In the special team category.
To kind of obfuscate the conversation, that's a way that a coach could say, well, I know like the terminology of which is talking about, and you guys probably don't. So which one are you asking about? I thought there was a little bit of that. And like, that's what coaches do when they're kind of trying to deflect the situation. Drink is masterful at it. But the special teams are a nightmare, and they have to change for next year. And offensively, you were not in a situation in that first half where your passing offense was going to get you down the field. And so to think that with a minute 10, or really about a minute 20, you start going incomplete, and then strip sack, fumble, basically a touchdown, that's stupid. Like, there's no reason to do that. You're not even at midfield. They had a 16-yard run with Roberts. Run the ball. Get to halftime.
Or screen. Throw a screen to somebody if somebody breaks a tackle or two.
But that's what Drink said on third down. They should have ran a screen.
They should
on first and second down, you should run the effing football, because you can kill every timeout that they have. You can take time off the clock to where if it doesn't work out, you can eventually punt it away. They handled it as poorly as they possibly could have, and it ended the game essentially in the first half. Like, it was stupid. Yeah. It was just, there's no defense of it. And that's offensive coaching. He's going to say it's on me because I approve it. To be throwing on first and second down, they needed to get to midfield with their quarterback situation and their kicking situation. You needed to get to midfield, I think, before you can realistically feel like you have a chance to put points on the board. Until then, you have to be playing conservatively. And all these years, Drink coaches very conservatively until the 2 plays in this game that cost him the game or made it a blowout. He goes, we're going aggro to return it on a punt, or we're going to throw it the 42 when we can't throw a forward pass. It was insanity.
I actually don't think, though, that the end of half is on Kirby Moore, because I think Drink is the one in that situation saying
that has to be,
hey, Kirby,
control.
No,
we can go for it.
He's the one that told Kirby Moore, we're going to go for 3 here. So Kirby Moore is free then to call plays. If Drake says we're trying to kill the timeouts, which he obviously said for that first possession, let's run the ball for the first set of downs.
There's a blend. There's a blend to it, Grant. And
then Drake gave him the green light.
They managed it well until the green light on first down. That should have been another running play or a screen pass that is going to be completed to keep the chains, to keep the clock moving. But again, you're not thinking catastrophic fumble that they're going to be set up at the 2-yard line. That's not the way you're viewing it. But with a third-string freshman quarterback, you have to bake in that he looked overwhelmed the entire half. So you're right. It's on Eli Drinkwitz. He took responsibility for it. That's great. It's not. I mean, it's worth what it's worth. It's worth that we know how he approached it and how he feels about it afterward. It doesn't change the outcome of the football game. But ultimately, they weren't very likely to win the game. With the way we saw it play out, they were. And even the defense played unbelievably well in the first half. Understandably, they were tired out by the second half, but they gave up 3 50-plus yard touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something to celebrate. No. So they just didn't play very well, and they lost because of it.
And adding to the asinine of the end of half situation, because I kind of just thought of this. If you dropped one person in, same situation, everything, but you had Blake Craig, I'd go, okay. That makes sense. Like, yeah, you need 10, 15 yards and you're in field goal range. The thing is, you had to get all the way to probably at least the 20 at that point to feel comfortable.
Spot where you feel comfortable.
No, but to feel like you can make it.
Yeah, you can, and you knew at that point you were probably trying to give Oliver Robbins a chance, and he hit a 49-yarder in the second half. You can get to the 30-something yard line and then just say, yeah, wing it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, there's no risk in doing that. But you're right. Like, the question you should be asking yourself as the head coach when you're at the 42-yard line and it's 1st and 10 is, what is reasonably likely to happen at this point if I start going aggressively? What could go wrong if I start going aggressively? It was one play too early, I think, to start thinking we can get into a range where our third string kicker can make it.
Get one more
first
down.
Think we can score a touchdown is just very unlikely. It's nice to think, let's be aggressive. You didn't have the personnel to do it, Grant. You didn't have the personnel at quarterback who was comfortable. You didn't have the line play to be able to know he would be protected. Like, you just didn't have it. You didn't have the receivers getting separation all night. You didn't have the play caller that was putting routes out there that Matt Zollers could reasonably hit. And then when you did maybe call a solid play and have somebody open for 5-6 yards, he would miss the throw. So you flat out didn't have the personnel to do what they did. And whether it's to put 6 on the board or to hang 3 because you feel like you got a chance to kick a field goal, they didn't have the people in place to reasonably make that happen. So you risk mitigate. You manage the risk of a situation, and you be able to look your team in the eye at halftime and say, defense played its ass off. We're down a touchdown. Here's what we're going to do offensively to give ourselves a chance because we're only down a possession and we can win this football game. They ruined the opportunity to do that, and it changed. Like, we can't even really look at the second half and say, well, they got outplayed this, that, and the other. They had to play it from a different perspective, down 2 scores instead of 1. If they're down 7-0 at half getting the football, that game is very much in the balance, and you can approach the second half with a different game plan in terms of the way you're trying to just eke out a touchdown drive and continue to lean on your defense. And they just weren't able to do that. So it's a disappointing loss, and it's a disappointing way to see the meaningful way that this season could have gone. It's ended. The season's not over, but the meaningful opportunities that were there, that tier of opportunity has been erased. We can be real about that while still saying there's something left to play for. I'm totally with that. But the tier of opportunity that was before them has been squandered.
And I saw you comment on this, and Eli Drinkwitz at Tire Talk. This is what he said. We got to get out of this. Oh man, it's playoff or bust. If the season only counts for 12 football teams and we got 127 Division I teams, the math's not going to math very well. There's a whole heck of a lot to be proud of. That's Eli Drinkwitz yesterday at Tiger Talk with Mike Kelly from Harpo's. You commented on that. I'm curious to hear you maybe expand, because I was in agreement. You got to watch the video, because that quote in its essence looks like he's looking for a cop out in his software. In reality, he was fired up, being fiery saying it.
I would have said, I think I told Andy on the big show in Columbia earlier this week, I made him do, what's your percentage that Drinkwitz stays or goes? And he said, I feel like it's a 50-50 proposition. And I said, I'm more like 33%, 66, or like a 40-60, and thinking that he's more likely to leave. And then yesterday, the Penn State boards were buzzing off about, there's some movement. And so I'm like, I feel he's 80%. He's going to leave, and it's going to be for Penn State, which is what I wrote down almost a month ago. It was October the 14th, and I thought Penn State's going to be the one that gets him. So, like, I've been in that mindset. And then I watched that video from Tiger talking, like, if this guy has the intent to leave, he is one of the greatest master manipulators of our day.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't sound like a guy that wants to leave. He sounds like a guy that's bought in and that is thinking about the future. And so, like, look, the good news is we're going to get to know here in about a month what the answer is. And then I can look back and say, that dude is just a snake, and he was just manipulating and telling people what they wanted to hear. Or that dude is genuine. He's a real dude, and he wants to make it happen at Missouri, for Missouri players, for Missouri fans, for Missouri, for this institution. Yeah. And, like, that's our ride or die, and he's a freaking local hero. Like, we're about to have a fork in the road, and it's going to be one or the other when it comes to Eli Drinkwitz. And so that I just think is indisputable. But when you listen to it's about 7 minutes where he was talking with Mike Kelly just about generally the state of things and a lot of forward thinking thoughts. And he was fired up. And again, he's a salesman. He's a recruiter. We know that his is a character that he can kind of go into. I'm not saying he wasn't being genuine, though, because the proof will be in the pudding. Time will tell. I will not accept he leaves and it's just, well, at the time I didn't really know. I was really sincere. No, like I won't buy that. But if he stays, that was genuine last night. And I think it's meaningful. And so that's the quote about, well, playoffs are bust. Like, it's true. You should be, you're paid within the top 10 of the country in coaching salaries. That puts you where it's like, we want you to be in the top 12 when the schedule is manageable to do it. And it was this year. They fell short against Alabama. They fell short against Vandy. You had to win one of those two games in order to still be talking playoff in mid-Missouri. And you fell short. But I agree that, like, there's still more to be able to accomplish within a season, because if not, then it doesn't matter what happens in these last three games. If they go 6-6, it's the same as going 9-3 or 8-4. And we know that that's not true.
No,
it's not. Being able to finish with pride and put together another winning season,
program building.
You celebrate your seniors by beating Mississippi State. Like, that's not just an afterthought of a game. You win a rivalry game with a trophy on the line at Fayetteville, Arkansas. That's not an afterthought of a game. And obviously you get up to play a ranked opponent at their place, Oklahoma. That's there should be no worry about what that looks like. So yeah, man, there is more to it than just whether or not you make the playoff. What's disappointing about it, I think, Grant, is that it's not that we just didn't make the playoff. We know in early November that we didn't make the playoff. Like, this last year, you could have made the case that, like, it wasn't until the South Carolina loss. And even then you were looking at, like, probably still winning 9 games. This year, it's like, all right, you've got one really difficult game where you're going to be an underdog. And I'm telling you right now, you go to Arkansas, I do not know that we win that football game. I just don't think we can score with that team. And so I would say I won't be surprised if Missouri is an underdog going to Fayetteville because of that offense. Maybe we see Matt Zollers hang 4 touchdowns on Mississippi State and Mizzou wins it 31-20. Against the Bulldogs. And then I'll say, okay, we've seen a proof of concept. Arkansas's defense is abysmal.
Yeah.
But, like, if Mizzou just can't move the football, it's not really going to matter what the other defense is or isn't. You can run on Arkansas, that's for sure. But right now I would say, man, Mississippi State has got to be a football game that you win. And if you don't, I don't know if they win another game the rest of the season.
I agree. Let's say, though, I like operating the hypotheticals. Let's say they go 8-4. They beat the two teams that on paper they should beat, that they probably will be favored in.
They lose to OU.
And they lose to OU, and then they win a bowl game. I know people are like, oh, bowls don't matter. They matter. They go 9-4. If I would have told you that before in August, what would your reaction have been?
It would have been mild disappointment because I saw the schedule there to do more with this team, with what I thought would be a much more productive offense with Ahmad Hardy and Bo Prabula. Now, if you had told me the part about you're going to be down to Matt Zollers midway through November, or like at the beginning of November, basically, that Vanderbilt game was what? That was in October, right?
That was in October. Yeah.
So if you said, you told me, hey, this is what it's going to be: 8-4, win a bowl game to go 9-4. Which again, like whatever. I'll say 8-4 pending bowl, because that's really, as much as the bowl does matter. I'm not going to change my whole feeling on the season because of it. 8-4 pending a bowl. you're going to be down to Zollers, who didn't play his senior season of high school football last year. That's going to be your guy for all of November. You're not going to have Sam Horn or Perbula in November for even one game. I would be like, yeah, I would take that. With that context, I would absolutely take that.
I would say that
without the quarterback context, I would be a little disappointed because I thought they could have done more.
Yeah. I would say that it's not even a step in the right direction, but you're not going backwards. It's not a success. It's not a failure.
Yeah,
it's a program
was
builder.
So manageable this year, though.
That's what's upsetting.
Why it would be disappointing. But again, if you told me, hey, this is what we were working with, we lost Sam Horn game 1, and then Bo went down before November 1st, I would have said, well, shoot. I mean, you do what you can.
Yeah.
8-4. Did I cash my bets from the 7.5 preseason? Hell yeah! Like that's at this point, I'm afraid to look at the live like what you could bet now. Because I bet you it's an underdog to have Mizzou win.
Some people have 6.5. It was 6.5 somewhere, and I'd really be sweating that if you had 6.5.
It was, but it was with like very minus odds to go over. Like the expectation was over. I got plus money on 7.5, and that's probably right back there now because they are going to be a big underdog at OU as they should be. And I would say they're supposed to win this game Saturday. You still going down to cover it, Grant?
I will be. I'll be there. Okay. Will you?
Man. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm not missing senior day. Look, dude, I love the Missouri Football Tigers. I love this program. I love this school. I love this team. I want to see them get back on track, man. It still definitely matters.
If they win versus Miss State, that would feel real good.
It would feel really good.
It would feel nice.
Mississippi State is a team that's trying to make a bowl game. They win a game they're in. And they got to beat us or Ole Miss in a rivalry game, the Egg Bowl, to get there. They're 5-5. So, like, yeah, this stuff still matters. I don't think it changes what will happen or won't happen with Drink necessarily. Anything specifically that happens on the field, like 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3. I think whatever's going to happen is going to be with that situation. And so, like, that's why it feels like a little bit empty. But I still think it matters to go and put together another winning season and be, there are programs again that lose these types of games and then their coaches get fired for it or their fan base checks out because of it. Like, this is a game that you have to still put a lot into and feel like, look, if we're going to continue to say, man, we have done a nice job of winning the games we're supposed to win, even if it's by the skin of our teeth, this is one that you have to make sure to get home. And it's not going to be an easy task to do that. I don't know about the point spread with 6.5. That feels too high to me. I think you're in for another heart stopper type of game this Saturday night, but it absolutely matters in terms of the way that this season is, we're going to ultimately feel about. Damn, it's up to 7 at DraftKings.
Wow.
All right. I mean, look, man, let's see that. Let's see that Zollers offense. Mississippi State's not a great defense, but they're not terrible, and they are an aggressive defense. It's going to be a challenge for a freshman quarterback. But maybe the run game gets good. Both running backs cleared 100 yards against Texas A&M. Like that's what's so disappointing is that was the game plan to go ahead and, lean on and do a better job of time of possession. They got those yards on the ground, but they didn't win time of possession the way they needed to, and they made key mistakes, and that cost them.
A few minutes before we go to break, but I want to, and we'll talk more about Mississippi State, Missouri on Friday. I want to talk about Missouri basketball. They are 3-0. They had a bad performance against SEMO on Friday, then came back and blew out VMI on Sunday. And now I think today will be a good barometer of where they're at. They play Minnesota. They're, I think, 6.5 to 7.5 point favorites against the Golden Gophers.
Yeah.
What's your take on Missouri so far? And what performance today would make you say, okay, maybe SEMO was just an early season blunder and this team is better than or where we thought they were?
Yeah, I'm nervous about this game because I saw what happens when they don't put their best foot forward against SEMO, and that's a team they should have beat by 25 points. I mean, that was the spread. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I don't think you're going to see Trent Pearson and Honor Boateng maybe all year. Even they may never play a game for Missouri. Dennis Gates with this injury stuff is absolutely insane.
I think Honor Boateng will.
Just tell us what's going on, and then we can stop talking about it. But he refuses to do so and has to be completely enigmatic about it every single year. So it annoys the crap out of me, and I'm over it. But, you'll get Sean Phillips back. He didn't play against VMI. He's a big-time interior presence that now you're going to play a team that's a power conference opponent, and so you're going to need all hands on deck. I think if Anthony Robinson plays more like he did on Sunday than like he did on Friday, then I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Make your free throws. Don't have reckless turnovers. But this team can score the basketball. That's been clear. The adjustments defensively are going to have to be made. I'm just a little bit worried that they're undermanned because I think 2 to 3 players that would be key contributors in like an 8-9 man rotation are all injured right now. And so whatever that ends up looking like, we'll see. This may just be the team you have, or you may end up getting some of those guys back. But either way, look, if you're favored at home to beat a power conference foe, I feel like this is one that you probably got to win, or I'm going to start to think, this could be more of a middling type of season where we're just a little bit undermanned for what we need if we're going to be trying to get to the tournament. Yeah,
I think Pierce and Boateng are definitely important role players. Boateng might be the second best defender, especially from that guard wing role outside of Anthony Robinson. So I think that's important to get back. But I think you should have enough in this game to win. Now, if you are without Boateng and Pierce by the time Notre Dame, Kansas, Illinois rolls around, then I will be worried. I do think if this Minnesota game was Sunday, let's say Sean Phillips would have played. I think it was just, hey, it's VMI, like respect to VMI, but
no, you don't have to respect him.
No, I'm saying
you beat him by 40.
Yeah, no. I'm saying respect to VMI, but we didn't need Sean Phillips. That T.Y. Johnson guy put up 33 points. That was fun to watch. But yeah, like you beat him by 40. Phillips gets his rest, not come out, beat Minnesota, and you should be cruising until you play Notre Dame, your next Power 5 opponent.
Yeah. No, I
think they win.
I think they'll win. I think they'll win close. I'm going to be positive about it until they give me a definitive reason not to be. But I'm a little concerned.
Yeah,
after that SEMO game. That was one of the ugliest basketball games I've ever watched.
Yeah,
I watched all the Kim Anderson games, and so
that was really gross. Mark Mitchell was awesome. He's still awesome.
Yeah,
continue to be awesome.
He was good, other than free throw shooting, which just has to. I mean, it's going to cost him at some point. But you know what? To be fair, down the stretch of that game Friday, he did make like 4 key free throws.
Yes.
So, but his overall numbers, he would start like 1 for 7.
They were bad. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. Hannah Barton's going to join us. We're going to talk about the SEC as a whole, talk about maybe some of the college football contenders and where the conference is going to go from here as teams will begin to get eliminated. He's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. This is the Lou Information Station. We're live and on demand at louinfo.com.
St. Louis, meet your new daily companion, the Lou Information Station app. Listen live anywhere, anytime with one click. Dive into live or on-demand content. It's the fastest way to stay connected to the conversations that matter in the Lou. Just search Lou Information Station in the App Store or Google Play and download it free today. The Lou Information Station app. Crystal clear St. Louis talk 24/7.
When you buy a hot tub, you want more than bubbles. You want value that lasts. At St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse, their low overhead means premium American-made products priced better than the competition and the best price guarantee in town. They'll beat any local dealer on a comparable model. With over 38 years in business and 400-plus 5-star reviews, you can trust they'll be there to service your spa long after the sale. St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse. Highest quality, best price. Visit besthotTubPrices.com today.
When it's time to bring the energy, don't fake it. Fuel it. Drink Thunder is the all-natural, plant-based, fruit-based pre-workout drink that gives you real results without the junk. No sugar, no crash, just clean energy, powered by nature, and loaded with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to help you perform at your best. Go to drinkthunder.com and grab your favorite flavor, orange mango, blackberry lemonade, or strawberry cream. Drink Thunder, the clean way to power your workout. drinkthunder.com.
LouInfo.com news headlines brought to you by Brown and Crouppen. GetBC.com.
With your LouInfo.com news, I'm Jared Sorello. Mayor Kara Spencer has announced the next leader of the St. Louis Street Department. The mayor appointing James Jackson as director of streets, calling the selection a sign of, quote, robust change. Former streets director Berthurti Williams was removed earlier this year after the department's poor snow removal efforts in January. 2 men are okay after narrowly escaping a plane crash in Chesterfield. Officials said the men were able to use a parachute to escape the small plane that went down near Spirit of St. Louis at about 6 in the evening Tuesday. Both men were the only two on board. They did not sustain any injuries. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. And did you see that? The northern lights visible in St. Louis last night. The Aurora Borealis was brought to the region by what NOAA calls a severe geomagnetic storm. We are streaming 24/7 at luinfo.com. I'm Jared Sorello.
Now, luinfo.com weather. Presented by STL Sports Central. St. Louis sports. Anytime, anywhere.
Here's your luinfo.com weather update. Mid-60s for this afternoon's high. We have high pressure covering our area for a while, at least through Saturday. It'll be sunny through the day. Clear tonight, and we're in the low 40s, low 60s, and a mix of sunshine and clouds on Thursday. Maybe a few clouds on Thursday night, sunny, and about 10 degrees warmer on Friday. We're hitting the mid-70s. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at luinfo.com.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton, State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season, and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's will to win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at carltoninsurance.net. MIZ.
ZOU.
Buddy.
What do you say, buddy? Man, life comes at you fast. 1 minute you're cruising home, the next flashing lights in your rear view.
And that's when you need backup. With the Legal Buddy app, you can connect to a local attorney in seconds.
Seconds? Not waiting days for a callback?
Nope, right away. DWI, car accident, criminal charge, traffic ticket, Legal Buddy's got your back.
So it's like having a lawyer in your pocket.
Exactly. Someone ready to step in the moment you need them, no matter the situation.
That's peace of mind.
That's Legal Buddy.
We're always going to be buddies, right?
All right, where do I get this?
Just download the Legal Buddy app at LegalBuddyApp.com. Register and use code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card.
Nice. Tickets, accidents, legal trouble, you're covered.
The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download it today. Enter code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card.
Buddy, it don't get much better than this.
Yep.
Lunchtime just got a whole lot better at Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. From mouth-watering wraps to loaded quesadillas to bold, flavor-packed sandwiches, Hot Shots has something fresh every single day, along with your favorite wings, burgers, and pizza that you know and love. And don't sleep on those Hot Shots tacos. Plus, if you gotta be in and out quick for lunch, Hot Shots has you covered every day starting at 11 a.m. Find your nearest Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill now at hotshotsnet.com. That's hotshotsnet.com.
And welcome back to MIZ Central on the Lou Information Station. I'm Grant Salzman. He's Brennan Schaefer. And joining us, as always, via phone, Hannah Barton. Hannah, how are we this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Well, we could be better. Unfortunately, for back-to-back weeks, really 3 weeks in a row, we could be doing better, unfortunately.
Yeah, all I got to say is welcome to life. You know?
Yeah, we're all sitting in it now, aren't we?
Yep.
Average to below average. I think that's where we're at.
I would agree. Yep. I mean, I think you guys still kind of got the average, maybe still not quite trending too far down, but, you know, some of us are barely hanging on by a thread.
Well, how was your bye week? You didn't have to, there was nothing to stress about with South Carolina last weekend.
That is true, which was very nice. Bye week was good. Hopefully the guys got all rested up because they had got, I think their call cast would be an understatement heading into this week. You know, figured out who's going to be calling our plays offensively, got things figured out on that end, and hoping for the best this week, y'all.
Yeah, a tough road trip to College Station ahead of you. And we'll say this, they're pretty good. That is a pretty good team over there in Texas. in College Station. I want to ask you guys a little bit about the college football playoff rankings. Ohio State stays at 1, Indiana 2, A&M 3. Did you think A&M should have been moved up after Indiana's lackluster performance, Brendan?
I did think that swap should be made because I think it would show that it's not just a week-to-week status quo and like wherever we had you last week is where you stay. Like it should be more than just whether you won or lost. Now, what we don't know is how close were Indiana and A&M before.
Yeah.
Like if they said, no, Indiana is well above A&M and this weekend closed the gap and that's why there was no movement. Okay. But I'd like to think that if the case was that they were considered very close with the first iteration of the rankings and then last week it happened, that they would be willing to make that swap. I think that would be giving the committee too much credit, though. I think they're just going to operate with chaos theory and largely it's going to stay the same if you both win until such time that they decide that they need to change it just because they want to.
What about you,
I would
Hannah?
have swapped it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think especially as we get these first couple rankings from the committee and this season and last season as the playoff is expanded, we kind of get a little bit of a look into like, okay, how much are they really taking things into consideration? And even if it's not in their guidelines, like, okay, this is the criteria you're supposed to use, whether it's, close wins, close losses, how much does it actually seem to affect what their ultimate decision is at the end of the day? And clearly it showed that even scraping out a win is still going to be enough to maybe keep you within reach, depending on where you were, again, like you said, with where Texas A&M and in Indiana were prior to.
Yeah, what is strange to me is that Ole Miss is moved down below Texas Tech. Ole Miss plays the Citadel, and they did not cover, by the way, Brendan. Little something to look forward to on Fridays that I got that point. Texas Tech moved above BYU, obviously. They beat them, but they move ahead of Ole Miss. Maybe they're switching the ranking because they thought they got it wrong originally, but I think that's
Texas
weird.
Tech beat number 7.
Okay.
And they beat them badly. So I don't know that there's anything that Ole Miss could have done from a scheduling standpoint. They played Citadel. If they beat them 73-0, I still think that's a switch that's made if the resume now looks more impressive to the committee for what Texas Tech did against BYU, who was undefeated, ranked number 7 in their rankings. And so when you beat number 7, if the gap wasn't that significant there between 6, 7, 8 last week, I don't think that's the type of swap that I would like to see made if they believe it is warranted. It stinks if you're Ole Miss, but I think you have to be able to credit the teams that win quality games on their schedule and win it the way that Texas Tech did.
Yeah, and please don't let BYU get into the playoffs. They're
still hanging in there at
they
12.
Stink. They probably are going to, and I don't think they're very good. Let's play a little exercise, you two. I'm going to give you the SEC teams that are ranked, and you're going to tell me whether you think they will be a playoff team come the end of the year. Let's start with some easier ones. Do you both think that A&M, Bama, and Georgia will all make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. What about Ole Miss? Because I think they have some breathing room. I think really all they have to do is win probably one more game in their end. They play Florida, then at Miss State.
I think they're going to be right on the cusp if they get in. I'm really 50-50 on what it's going to look like for Ole Miss. A lot of it honestly depends on what happens in the other conferences.
Is that assuming? Do you think Ole Miss will lose one of those games?
No. I don't know. Brendan, what do you think?
I mean, I think if they win their 2 games, they're easily in. There's nowhere for them to go because, I don't think Oregon plays any. I don't know who Oregon plays, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, they'd be 11-1.
They'd be
Texas or OU could run the table to get to 10-2. I don't think they claim enough to jump Ole Miss. So it's only interesting to me if they lose a game. And if they lose a game, I think they're in trouble because I think a 10-2 Texas or a 10-2 Oklahoma would be above them. BYU is about that line for me. I think they would probably stay above BYU, but they'd fall below Notre Dame. They'd fall below Oregon. I don't think Oklahoma, though, finishes 10-2. Texas would be the team Ole Miss would have to worry about in that example. And then the teams below where you're talking about like an ACC winner's got to get in. a group of 5 winner has got to get in. And so that really means you've got to be in the top 10 to feel safe. Ole Miss is going to get in, though. As much as I hope they lose to somebody like Florida or Mississippi State, just for the carnage of it all, I expect Ole Miss to make the playoff. Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting one, and it is Texas, because currently they are 7-2. They are ranked at number 10. So here's my scenario. If they win out, they're in. Winning out would mean beating number 5 Georgia at Georgia, Arkansas at home, and then Texas A&M, undefeated Texas A&M at home. Now, let's say they win Arkansas. We'll give them that's a win, a lock. But let's say they go 1-1 in the other games. Let's say they beat undefeated A&M and maybe lose to Georgia by a touchdown or less. Are they in at 9-3? That is where I think things get in really interesting. What do you think, Brendan?
Oh, man, it would depend on a lot of what happens around them. You'd need Oklahoma to drop a game, I think, just because then you'd be talking about those 9-3s. Texas beat Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry, so that helps them to be able to lean on. Think that the committee could lean like 11-1 BYU versus a 9-3 Texas would be very.
Yeah.
I just don't think that Texas is going to win that battle. So you may need BYU to drop another game. What about Utah? Vanderbilt is knocking on the door there. They play Tennessee. So if Tennessee can beat Vanderbilt to knock Vandy down a peg, I think a Texas at 9-3 could definitely be better than a lot of the 10-win teams from other conferences, whether that may be Miami or a Georgia Tech or, a Southern Cal, whatever the case may be. It's going to depend, though. Like when you lose a game, for example, Iowa lost to Oregon and it was a home game.
Yeah.
They dropped 1 spot. I know it's
crazy.
And it's further down the rankings. So like it's more difficult to do that when you're higher up because there's more deserving teams looking to take your spot. But let's say that the loss for Texas comes early and it's the Georgia loss, and Georgia's number 5 and Texas drops maybe 2 or 3 spots, right? They're still, let's say they're like right next to Vanderbilt on either side of Vanderbilt. Let's say they're right behind them. That would put them, 14, whatever it would be. And you handle Arkansas, you get Utah or BYU or Oklahoma above you to lose. And so then you're kind of like, all right, you're knocking on the door. You're at 12 going into an A&M game where you win against undefeated A&M. Like that's a big win.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give you some cachet. They would need some help, but I would say you're right. At 9-3 with where they're currently positioned, Texas would not necessarily be out of the running. It would just be up to a judgment call by the committee at that point.
Hannah, I want to give you this scenario: 9-3 Texas with a close loss to Georgia and a win over Texas A&M, or 10-2 Vandy, who Texas beat outright. One team gets in. Who is it?
I think if Texas A&M is still undefeated,
Texas. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
I think if Texas A&M is still undefeated and Texas gets the win over them, they're in.
Over 10-2 Vandy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be so interesting because what like Texas, I think that Texas would be right behind Vanderbilt going into that weekend. But if they're not, if Texas is above Vanderbilt, then you're already going to know for sure.
Yes.
But if it's Vandy at 10 and Texas is at 11 and Texas gets the much more impressive win, and although going to Knoxville, I think that game's in Tennessee,
but still
at Neyland Stadium, that's tough. That's what I want to happen. I want for both of those teams to be in that situation just to see what would happen and who would get very, very upset.
I think the other thing is who is going to be the SEC champion that gets the automatic bid.
Yeah.
And what teams have the head-to-head win over them. Because if a team has a head-to-head win over a team that's already automatically in, you have to put more weight into that.
That's what they did 2 years ago with Florida State and Bama. That's a good point. That was a 14 playoff, but it's still that to say, yeah, well, they beat the eventual champion. What do you do with that?
And I think there's still a scenario, especially because there's 3 teams above them. Texas only has 1 conference loss. I think if they win out, they'd at least be 3rd. And I don't know who would have the tiebreaker between them and Ole Miss in this scenario. So
yeah, the tiebreaker stuff is too far to, because Alabama or A&M, well, like you said, A&M would be behind Texas if Texas beat them.
And Georgia would be behind Texas too. And we're just assuming Bama wins out, which they could very well lose.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
situation.
there's still a lot to happen.
There's like a non-zero situation where there is. Oh gosh, I just lost the SEC standings. I believe 5 teams in the SEC
could be tied.
It could be Bama could have 1 loss. Georgia could have Georgia would have 2. Yeah, Georgia could have 1 loss.
Georgia's got
Bama,
one.
A&M, and Ole Miss could all have 1 loss. There's not a situation for 5 because Texas and Georgia play.
Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's like a not likely, but a non-zero situation where there's 4 7-1
Like Ole
teams.
Miss is gonna be favored in both of those games.
Yes.
Against Florida and Mississippi State.
Uh-huh.
Texas beating A&M could drop A&M to 1. I almost think it's interesting still if you have one of those two is undefeated, but the others are still vying for that other spot. The cream is kind of separating in the conference, and I do think at the end of the day, Texas is still one of the best 5 teams in this conference, despite what we probably thought for the first half of the year. And they're going to have every opportunity to prove it because they play 2 top 5 teams the rest of the way. If they win out and go 10-2, they're going to be ranked. I mean,
very high.
They're going to be hosting. They're going to be hosting in the opening round of the CFP. That is for sure.
Okay, let's move on to the team right behind them at 11th in Oklahoma. I say no to them getting in because I think they lose to Alabama. But if they get past Alabama at Alabama somehow, they play Mizzou and LSU at home, which with both team situations, I think they're in.
Yep, they got to. If they beat Bama, they're going to be in. And I just don't think they're that good.
I don't think
Bama,
so either.
We've seen Bama sometimes plays with its food a little bit, so. That's going to, I think it's a lower scoring game in that one, and that could suit Oklahoma at that point.
Hannah, you agree?
Yeah, I think the Alabama beats Oklahoma. Oklahoma's out.
Okay,
and I don't see Bama losing to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I agree with you. Another team with interesting is number 14, Vandy. They play Kentucky, who should be an easy win, won't move them up too much, beating Kentucky. And then they go to Tennessee right now. I will be interested because I have not seen a situation where a 10-2 SEC team would get left out. But looking at Vandy's schedule, I very much think that they could be the one left out if it happens because
they need help.
There's not a ranked team that they've beaten.
Yeah, they need a little bit of help, I think, either from the committee just giving them deference as an SEC, or they would need help of, like right now they've got 2 Big 12 teams ahead of them, and only one of those teams is going to be losing the Big 12 championship to Texas Tech. So, like, there has to be, is there enough motion in a win over Tennessee for Vandy to flip on Utah, and then, you know, BYU loses the Big 12 championship to Tech, and then you drop them because they lost twice? Like, even though their 2 losses would be to the same team, like that's what you're hoping for if you're Vanderbilt, or you're hoping to, you know, cannibalize your own SEC a little bit with Oklahoma and Texas taking a 3rd loss, and you're hoping to maybe have your 8-2, your 10-2 be considered better than their 9-3. I loved Vandy until we lost to him. It would be so funny to me if Vanderbilt gets left out to a big brand that goes 9-3.
I would love it.
I would love it just because Vandy's not that good. Like they got very fortunate to beat Missouri. You know, they should have lost to Texas by more points, and Texas just kind of stopped playing defense in the 4th quarter. They should have lost to Auburn last weekend. So Vanderbilt, there is a gap. Texas is legit. Oklahoma, I'm still circling to see if they beat Bama, then they'll get that legit moniker from me. Vanderbilt, I just don't think is, and I don't think beating Tennessee will compel me to think that they are either. So it would be just if they are left out. But we'll have to see the way it shakes out. It'll be interesting in that kind of corridor of the rankings.
The last team here that is ranked is a team that I don't think is very good. They also have not beaten a ranked team. They haven't even beaten a team when they were ranked. Like Vandy is, they beat South Carolina when they were ranked. They beat Mizzou when they were ranked at least. Tennessee has not even beaten a ranked team all year. Their losses are to Bama, Oklahoma, and Georgia, though. And they're hanging around at 23rd, which is like enough of a situation where if things go their way, they could sneak Vandy, which could be a top 10 win. They also, though, haven't beaten Florida since I was probably about 3 months old in 2003 at Florida. It's been that long since they've won at the Swamp. If they win out, and go 9-3, is there a situation where Tennessee's in the playoffs?
No,
I don't think so.
there's not. The
I don't
committee
think
told
so.
us that last night. They could have put Tennessee at like 19 last night if they wanted to, and said, I think did Pitt jump Tennessee, or was that, or are they kind of in lockstep? I can't remember where Pitt was before this week, but they're 22 above Tennessee at 23.
Yeah.
Iowa could have dropped below Tennessee.
They gave Iowa
Louisville
a better
losing-
chance to get in with 3 losses than Tennessee.
Louisville losing to Cal as an 18.5 point favorite at home and not dropping further is a travesty.
Yes.
It's just a complete joke, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and stump for Tennessee. But like, there was a realm in which Virginia losing as a 7-point favorite at home against Wake Forest, like if they would have dropped and we would have seen Pitt at 19, Tennessee at 20, then I would have said absolutely there's a path for the Vols. The committee told us last night, don't even think about it, Tennessee.
Yeah.
No. And
There's
so
no
they're
path.
done.
I agree.
No path.
I think so. Hannah, you agree?
I agree. No, they're not in.
All right. That was a fun little exercise. Got us through what teams we think are in and out. There's a lot of good games this weekend. Again, a lot of implications we're starting to get to with only 3 weeks left in the season. Brendan Schaefer and myself will break all that down on Friday, try to win you some money with our favorite picks of the week as well. Thanks to Hannah Barton, as always, for coming on. Hannah, are you going to A&M?
I am not.
Okay.
No. I think I'm going to spare myself the trouble on that one.
That's fair.
That's fair. And College Station sucks anyway, according to Brendan Schaefer. So you're not missing
I've
much.
heard that too. I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, as always, thanks for joining. He's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. Up next on the Lou Information Station is Charlie Tuna and the Posse.
Tune in each week as STL Sports Central, the Lou Information Station, and the Too Many Men on the Mic podcast present